Now before we go any further, let's take a look at molecular compounds. We just looked at ionic compounds. Molecular compounds do dissolve, but they dissolve without dissociating. And let me just write here, except for acids, and we'll look at acids later. Dissolving means going from the solid or liquid state to a solution state. So the solution is now a mixture as opposed to a pure substance, and each molecule or ion is going to be completely surrounded by water. So both molecular and ionic compounds will dissolve in water, but only ionic compounds are going to dissociate, which means breaking apart into ions. So if we look, for example, at a molecular compound, this is glucose, and glucose has the formula C6H12O6. So we can tell by looking at this formula that it is a molecular compound because there's no metal in it. And I don't have these written as subscripts, but we know there's 6 carbon atoms, which are the black, represented by the black here, and 12 hydrogens, which are the white, and then 6 oxygen, which are going to be these red. And when glucose or any sugar is put in water, the water molecules represented here are going to surround each individual molecule and it will dissolve. And we know from our everyday experience, for example, that table sugar readily dissolves in water. And it goes from a solid state to a solution where each molecule is going to be individually surrounded by water. So if I were to write the reaction of glucose being dissolved, here I have its formula C6H12O6. It's going to be a solid at room temperature, and this is a molecular compound. Each glucose exists as an individual molecule, and when it dissolves, the molecules are going to break apart from one another and then become completely surrounded by water molecules. And that's what the AQ means. So here we have a pure substance, and here we have a solution or a mixture. Now the difference between ionic and molecular is in molecular, we're not dissociating. The molecules stay the same. What's different between my AQ state and my solid state is in my solid state, each glucose molecule is next to another glucose molecule. But in my aqueous state, each glucose molecule is completely surrounded by water. It looks like it's in the liquid state, but it's not a pure liquid. It is an aqueous solution with mostly water. So, super important to understand the difference between dissolving and dissociating. Dissolving means you go from a solid or liquid to a solution state, and in our case, dissolving in water, so your molecules or your ions are going to be completely surrounded by water. Dissociation means breaking apart into the ions.